I'm Dermot Hussey. Welcome to the YouTube channel for the podcast Riffin Radio. For an appreciation of the Mighty Sparrow, we spoke to another Caribbean giant and also one of our featured podcast guests, Eddy Grant. Greetings, my friend. Good to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
The Mighty Sparrow is considered the greatest living calypsonian. Do you also regard him in those terms?
My father, and there's many superlatives that can be attached to his name. When you say greatest living calypsonian, he is the calypsonian of our time, certainly of my time. He predates me, and he was the calypsonian of that time, and he is now seen as possibly the greatest that there ever was, for many reasons. I mean, he's not just, you can't just say Sparrow is just a calypsonian. That would be doing him really bad.
When did you become aware of him?
4 or 5 years old. Must have been about 5 years old. And, my father was a musician, played in one of the bigger bands in Guyana called Nello and the Luckies, which Sparrow used to also, when he comes to Guyana, he would get musicians from that band. My father's played with Sparrow, as my godfather, who was James Smart, who played with Sparrow for many years and actually lived with him up in Diego Martin in Trinidad. So, and I've actually visited him there when I actually went to see Sparrow in Trinidad.
What were his first lyrics that resonated with you? The first lyrics of Sparrow that resonated with you, what you heard first that caught your attention?
It wasn't just a lyric, it was the capacity for rhyming. I suppose just like kids today would hear a rapper and they would say, yeah, I like it. Sparrow was able to sing so fast and be so articulate. I mean, when I was 5 or 6, I didn't know what articulate was, but it was attractive. It's how can I describe this? It was made for its time. What he was singing was way out of his time. I mean, the Mighty Duke, who is also a great friend of Sparrow's as well, and was a member of his tent, and they were good friends. Duke told me many years later, obviously, when he started to record with me, that he said in this way, he says, family, he's a big man, right? So, yes. He said, boy, imagine that is not till I turn a big man that I really understand enough of them things that Sparrow was singing about, He said, them things, that is what endeared him to people. I mean, he was singing in what they call it, proper English. He was singing in the patois, real patois, French patois. He was singing about sex and violence and all kinds of things. Machoism. He was the quintessential Caribbean man. He was the black man, as I suppose Stalin came to become during his time too, seen as the quintessential black man, where Sparrow then went on to being the calypso king of the whole universe, of Earth and Mars.
The role of the great calypsonian is in a way being the spokesman for the conscience of his people, a sounding board of the times. How important a skill is that?
That's why I say that Sparrow was not just a calypsonian. I mean, first of all, he was a great singer, and many of the great calypsonians were not great singers, even till today. I mean, with all due respect to whoever there is out there, they still can't sing like Sparrow. So on that side of the game, he is winning. But to talk about calypso, he was not just a mouthpiece for the people as the people would normally expect from a lion or a tiger or a Kitchener or any one of these people. And actually Kitch can go in a different bag, but he was ahead of the people. He told the people what was to come. I mean, he sing a song like Sarsaye, you know. Then nobody was singing those things, as Duke said, at that time. So you had this guy who was capable of telling you the future, and you know, and he was so erudite. He was so, and from what I know of the history of Sparrow, and I know a lot, he was no schoolboy. You know, I don't even know if Sparrow had time for school, because by the time he was at the end of his teens, he was well and truly a big man. You know, and you know, in the Caribbean we have big men. You understand? He was a big man by the time he was doing Gene and Dinah.
Did his music have an impact on your music?
Brother man, I'm telling you, it's not a question that is understood. Every artist who's ever sung anything approximating calypso, reggae, or whatever it is, Sparrow was the man. Sparrow, if you in Jamaica, you got Bob Marley. If you could dig Bob right up now from where he lying, he would tell you, hey, I was a big fan of the Mighty Sparrow. How else were you going to learn? Everybody who's an artist in this time had to have been schooled by the Mighty Sparrow. The Mighty Sparrow was the template. If you ask Gabby, he will tell you. Honestly, anybody who's honest will tell you, they come out of the school of the Mighty Sparrow. Done, story done. Now, we all may have gone on to other influences, like, I mean, I would have gone on to influence from Roaring Lion, and I would have gotten influenced by the Mighty Duke without knowing it. You know, when you were interested in calypso, like I live or die by calypso. I've said it before, if I have played two notes in my life, one has to be calypso inflected. Must. It runs in my blood.
The social commentary of the calypsonian doesn't seem to flourish with its successor, soca, at least not to the same degree. Is that a loss? How you regard that?
Well, and this is the usual nonsense bullshit that turns up with interviews about calypso. Soca, as it is called now, soca is ring bang. What is happening now is ring bang music. It is taken a turn. If you are an aficionado of calypso, you will know that by 1969, calypso had changed. By the time you get to 1970 odd, where people start talking about soca, I'd already made it. Black Skin, Blue-Eyed Boys was made in 1969, released in 1970. And at that time, there was no issue about soca. So it's again, the Sparrow, I mean, he has actually written to me in these terms many years ago, a few years ago, saying, boss, he calls me boss, and I call him boss. You know, very strange. He said, boss, Sparrow's not a historian of Calypso. That's the other thing that people will mistakenly accredit to Sparrow. Sparrow's not an Calypso aficionado. Sparrow is a great Calypsonian. He is the great leader of that pack. He said it in song, I am not a soca man, as did Lord Kitchener the same. And everybody was running from this soca. And yet the media and so on were trying to accredit it to a Trinidadian, obviously, no problem. But you also have to remember that I was tremendously popular in Trinidad for that period of time when soca music, because all they did was ladle it with brass again, because they always said that no tune is going to rule Trinidad if it don't have brass. Well, I knocked that out of the park one time, because certainly Black Skin, Blue-Eyed Boys didn't have no brass. Neighbor Neighbor didn't have no brass. Hello Africa didn't have no brass. When they want to, what they call soca it up, they had brass. I don't put brass to no music. Matter of fact, the reason that ring bang has come about is because the music really was getting too expensive to make in the old fashion. We were going digital, so to speak. You know, all the time it's been just thrust towards making it easier for young people to make music. So when you say that the soca music doesn't have content, is because most of the people who are the purveyors of what they call in soca, what I call ring bang, is that they can't write. With all due respect, if you want to find great songs, you got to go and find guys like Stallion, Super Blue. You know, you got to go and find the odd person, you know, and not people who can just sing Jump and Wave. Where they get it wrong with Super Blue is that they think that that's all that he can write. Well, I know different. And if you listen to those Jump and Wave songs, you hear content, you hear stories, you know, Lara, you hear Ethel, you hear Soca Baptist. These are crafted songs. They're not just saying jump and wave and put your hand in the air and jump up, jump up, jump up. No, that's just to get you in.
If I were to ask you for maybe 2 or 3 personal memories that you have of Sparrow that are still very much with you, could you give me 3? I know you have many.
Oh Lord, yes. Well, first of all, the first one was when I would have been maybe about 9, walking down the road, singing 1BG Planting, I think it was, or one of those songs, you know, and I passed an old member of the village. You know, we have these great old women who are the mothers, the matriarchs of our villages. And I happened to be passing her. She was sitting by the trench, 4-foot trench, washing whatever it is that she was washing, I think wares or something like that. And I'm singing this song, and she called me across the trench. She said, "Hey, Monty, come." So I went across the the bridge, the little bridge she had, and she dropped one slap in me. And I said, wow, what was that for? Aunt Miriam, what was that for? And she said, were you a big man? I said, no, Aunt Miriam, no, Aunt Miriam. She said, well, why you pass? First of all, you passing me because you had already passed me. No good morning, no nothing. And you're singing that song? And I said, yes, Aunt Miriam. She said, go home and tell Maud, which Maud is my grandmother, tell her that Aunt Miriam slapped you because it looked like you and she sleep last night. Remember, I don't know any of this kind of talk, you know. So I said, me and Aunt Miriam sleep last night? Well, anyway, so I went home and I told my grandmother, I said, Mama, I don't understand. I'm walking down the road, I'm singing a song, and Aunt Miriam called me across the bridge. She doing some washing, and she dropped a slap in me and tell me to come and tell you that Aunt Miriam slapped me because you're going on like a big man, like you sleep by she last night. I didn't understand. My grandmother dropped another slap in my ass. You know, that was one. Meeting Sparrow for the first time would have been in, no, that would have been too early. I met Sparrow in about 1974, personally. I made it my pilgrimage to go up to see him in Diego Martin at the Hideaway where he lived. And we spoke for a while. And I mean, I told him how much I loved him and, you know, love his music. I know all his songs, I can sing them and all of that. And he told me, he says, you know, I listening to you, you know. I listening to you. And at that time, I was getting really popular in Trinidad. You ask any Trinidadian at the time where Eddy Grant from, they would probably tell you from Tunapuna or somewhere like that in Trinidad. Not many people didn't know that I'm a Guyanese. But Trinidad, and this is, I must put that aside what I was talking to you about and make it known to people who listen to me and to people who have opinions about me. I love Trinidad. And I love Trinidad for very cultural reasons and very specific reasons. It is that there is so much creativity in the atmosphere. It's like nowhere else in the Southern Caribbean. It is like that to a degree in Jamaica, and not only in music, but in many other aspects of culture. Jamaica is definitely a leader. But in Trinidad has fantastic capacity and not much opportunity. And so therefore it's very difficult for the average Trinidadian to succeed against all. I mean, how can you be Bugsy Sharp and the whole world not recognize that you are something special? You know, that is because we don't think of our people like that. And so when I would have met Sparrow for the first time personally and hugged and whatever it is we artists do. And he said, you know, Eddy boy, I listening to you, you know, I listening to you. I like what I hearing and think, boy, but they listen, man. You see that love thing you keep on talking about? Don't bother with it here in Trinidad. I swear to God. And I said, why? But I love Trinidad. And I love the people, and I love the music, and I love. He said, yeah. That is all right, but keep that to yourself. He said, in Trinidad, they laugh at you, you know. I said, but why? He said, boy, in Trinidad, they have nothing called love. It's pure hate. I said, wow. He said, I just have to cuss them every now and again, you know. He said, but that is a fact. In Trinidad, there ain't no love, just pure hate. And I thought about it. He said, listen to me. When last you hear a love song in Calypso? When last did you hear a love song in Calypso? And you know, it's a question I would pose to anybody who's listening to this program now. And it's also, it's a guide to what's happening in the society. I cannot think of, and I couldn't at that time either, think of one love song where a man showed emotional love for a woman. He say, you ain't right talk about Marabunta Jean, Stinking Mouth Eileen, got to keep the city, you got to get rid of them if you want to keep the city clean. He said, but I sing more about that and female parts and whatever it is than you can ever imagine. Eddie, honestly, if you could find one, tell me. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about even the song Maria by Lord Blakey, which possibly comes closest because it's got a beautiful melody and, you know, Maria, girl, I love you so bad, da 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 da, Maria, ends up with the man dropping a slap in the woman, you know. It's not there. It's not there. And till today, there's a carryover of the macho issue. And whenever it's not there, you've lost in terms of the world, you know, because the world might be all about war, but the world pretends that it's also about love and peace. And so, yeah, so that's one of them. And the third would be when I went to Trinidad to sign Sparrow and to acquire his copyrights and the recording rights and so on. And we went out. First of all, we went to, he had this song out, both of them. And when I heard this song, I was in the company of Stallion and Roy Cape. And I heard the song, both of them. And I said to Roy, Roy, the boss got help, he's gonna give you all the hell this year, boy. And he said, "Do you think so?" I said, "I know so." And when Sparrow, the band, I mean Roy's band plays beautifully for two people. They play beautifully for Stalin. No, you can't stick a pin there. And they play specially for Sparrow. When Sparrow comes on the stage after anybody, the band goes up to the power of two. And I mean Roy Cape's band, the old configuration. They're a fantastic band and really should go down in the lexicon of great bands. If you're talking about Glenn Miller and you're talking about people like Louis Armstrong Band and, you know, all these bands in the world, then surely Roy Cape's band, I mean, any iteration of that band has to go down as one of the great bands in the world, ever. So when I was in South Trinidad, Naparima Bowl, and I think Sparrow was late coming in, but the band had obviously practiced the song and so on and so forth. And so I greeted him and he said, what do you think of the song? And I said, what I think of the song? That song is going to straighten out your foot. Instead of walking with that bow leg thing, you're going to be walking straight. Rhythm, everything. I mean, Erlin's did a fantastic job with the arrangement, and the subject was so saucy and so typical of a great calypso, and I knew that it was going to do damage. So he came on, and yeah, after Stalin had already mashed the place up, but he came on, and only Sparrow could have done what he did that night at Naparima Bowl. So we left there, and then we went to his house and, you know, signed up papers and what have you. And then we went out afterwards to what I would call a shebeen, short pants. You know what I'm saying? Sparrow in a short pants, and you know, he liked to be the bad boy and this and that. And we went in there and he danced up a storm, man, with them girls and things. You know, so I have many beautiful memories when it comes to Sparrow, and from very young. And you don't lose that love. You don't lose, regardless. This has nothing to do with the man. You have to divide this personality into the man and the artist and maybe whatever else. And believe you me, on the artistic front, Sparrow, I always say, before I get to Chuck Berry, I went to Sparrow's college, Ringbank College. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah.
In your catalog of Ice Records, you have several Calypsonians, Sparrow included. Are those titles still in demand today?
Brother man, that's a massive subject that I don't think we have enough time to talk about. I can say this to you, they are still under my protection and care, and in as much as the world has changed so significantly and everybody is a thief, the one gifted with looking after, I spend so much money with lawyers and what have you. But I am here as the custodian, just as I am for Bailey's Plantation. And I gave myself the job many, many years ago, talking to a gentleman by the name of Mr. Aubrey Christopher. Mr. Christopher is the one who recorded Gene and Dinah. He recorded the first Sparrow songs. He also recorded the first Blakey songs. And, you know, he was the genius of the time. He was the Frank Agarat of that time. And it is Mr. Christopher with whom I started the journey, because he had all the most beautifully recorded, beautiful masters, and he was looking after them for me. He said, I will look after them for you because I know you don't have the money now. Go and earn the money and then come back and I'll introduce you to all the various players, and those that I don't know, I know people who know. And you will be the man, Eddie, that will be the custodian of this great music, because nobody gives one damn about it in Trinidad. These are Mr. Christopher's words, and that's how it turned out. I mean, sometimes I wish that it hadn't been put upon my shoulder, but the reality is that so many of our things that are great have gone, lost forever to others, and we seem to be very happy about it. We seem to be satisfied that white people own us, that Chinese own us, that Indians own us, but we don't really like the idea of Black people owning ourselves. You know, it's part of our problem. I've just been sitting there listening to the African heads of government, speaking to some of the Caribbean heads of government as they try to regenerate this kind of Pan-African relationship, which was started from Garvey's time.
Right.
And I see how difficult it is, how hard it is for us to contemplate such a massive issue, because trust me, and I will say it forever if necessary, we have a big problem of ownership. We don't own our oil, we don't own our food, and this is why we have a problem. We believe now in COVID. We believe that there's something called COVID. Why haven't we got scientists and what are taking our money, doing nonsense with our money? Why don't we have scientists who can categorically say, this vaccine is good for you? Why we don't have that, Dermot? We don't have it in the Caribbean, we don't have it in Africa, we don't have it in Brazil, we don't have it no damn where. Black people don't make nothing. Bad English, but reality. That's where we have to get to.
Eddie, thank you so much, man, as always, for your impressions, recollections, and I'm so glad that I asked you to talk about Sparrow, because you did mention in our podcast before that how important he was to you, and still is.
He is my boss. He calls me boss, and I call him boss. And he is, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I could stand there all day and wax lyrical about Sparrow's abilities and what have you, but it doesn't need further endorsement.
Thank you so much, my friend.
My pleasure. Stay good, Dermot.
You too, friend. Talk soon.